Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber, and alongside me is Logan Camden, and you already know the drill. We've got one incredible playoff basketball game to talk about today in what has been an absolute peak series. My favorite series of the playoffs so far, Logan. Honestly, pretty comfortably. It's just been incredible. And after tonight's result, we are headed for a game 7 between the Nuggets and the Thunder. We'll talk about what to expect and what our predictions are for that game 7 later. First, we have to talk about how the Nuggets pulled out this win, Logan. Backs against the wall, down 3-2. Jamal Murray, questionable to even play in this game with an illness. He ends up coming in huge. What did you make of Denver's performance and how they got this done?
The first guy I want to give props to is Julian Strawther. I mean, I thought he completely swung this game when he came in the third quarter. And we've been talking about it all series long, Carson. We talked about it even last episode. We kind of brought up his name jokingly as like a guy in that archetype that could step up and make some shots. But he came through huge in this game. I mean, he powers a 10-0 run at the end of the third quarter that really put Denver in pole position to pull away and win this game. It wasn't the cleanest execution to close out in the fourth quarter, but they do come away with it. And I thought that was the really key stretch in this basketball game. The other guys that I think deserve a lot of credit for Denver is Jokic. I think Jokic really dealt with the coverages well tonight and really picked his spots. Throughout most of this game, I was concerned with the level of aggression that we had gotten out of Jokic. I wanted him to be more aggressive, and it's like right as I felt that, and I felt like they were teetering on the point of he's not doing enough, Jokic really clicked into gear. And so I thought he picked his spots well and was aggressive when he needed to, but I also just thought he play-made and protected the ball better than he has in most of this series. Christian Braun had a massive first quarter, and I thought that the Nuggets did a really good job of turning defense into offense in that first half. And I thought Jamal Murray had a really good game, and they played really well defensively. These teams are so close, Carson. I didn't feel like the margin was that big in this game. I really felt like it was decided by a few stretches in this basketball game. And Denver got out to this big lead in the first quarter, and then we got some disastrous Russell Westbrook minutes into the second quarter that tanked it. And then Strawther gives them that big surge in the third quarter that gets them to pull away. It really feels like the difference in all of these games, Carson. One could be one stretch of basketball or who executed better in the clutch. And I thought in this one, it was that stretch in the third quarter in that surge by Strawther. And I thought that Denver did execute better down the stretch. And this was a really disappointing game from Oklahoma City supporting cast and their surrounding shooting. But shout out Denver. They didn't lose on the home floor, and we are getting Game 7, man. I am so excited.
I'm so excited too. I think that this is just going to be the creamiest game 7 that we've maybe ever seen.
Hey, yo.
Yeah, I said it. I meant it. I said it on purpose.
I agree.
5 of 6 games in this series have been absolute bangers. And the best part, Logan, SGA and Jokic, both of who were seeing some extremely aggressive, difficult coverages, have been all series, but were struggling with it earlier. Now they have both really found their rhythm. I think they've both gotten significantly more comfortable. They know how to attack these respective defenses. I think that they've both just been phenomenal in these last 2 games. And I do think we're going to get 2 more stellar performances out of them in game 7. So it very well may come more down to what do you get from the surrounding pieces. And in this one, it was Denver supporting cast who stepped up and played better. Julian Strawther, absolutely massive to be able to get those minutes out of him. Like, this is a guy who has been on the fringes of the rotation to come in, confidently knock down 2 threes to make a really smart cut. And then even into the fourth quarter, he was giving you production. He hits the 3 that like effectively ices this game. So massive, because not only are you getting that production out of a guy who you weren't expecting it from, now you're allowing Nikola Jokic to rest, because I saw some stat going around. I think the last 4 games in which Jokic had played the entirety of the fourth quarter for the Nuggets in the playoffs, they had lost. Because normally the 2 periods when he rests in a game are early in the second quarter, early in the fourth quarter. But when it gets to do or die time, they'll play him 45 minutes. And that means that he will play the entire second half, because Denver doesn't trust more than 7 guys generously on this entire roster. They won the non-Jokic minutes tonight. And Julian Strawther is a huge component of why that was possible. They went +3 specifically in that 4-minute stretch to start the fourth quarter with Jokic off, where in the last 2 games, they had slipped in the fourth quarter. That's when OKC had taken control of the game, and instead they solidified their lead without Jokic. By the way, I just want to give props for what they have done with Jokic off the floor throughout this series, because I continue to think game after game, oh, that's where OKC is going to have an advantage in the non-superstar minutes. They're going to bludgeon them in the non-Jokic minutes. And it's been pretty rare that that's the case. They are -13 with Jokic off the floor. They're -19 with Jokic on the floor, obviously in a lot more minutes with Jokic out there, but you have to feel good about only being -2 points per game in the non-Jokic minutes, considering who you're going up against, a team that has been so dominant, has been so successful, even with Shai off the floor throughout this season. Their ability to play those minutes close to a draw has been really pivotal to keeping them in a lot of these games and allowing them to have this at an even series right now. And the guy who I think deserves a lot of credit for that is Jamal Murray as well, who I understand frustrations with his inconsistency, but he has had some massive performances in these playoffs. And I don't think overall you can be disappointed with the level that he's played at. He's giving you 22.5 points per game on better than 56% true shooting. And this was a masterclass out of him. I thought that for most of the game, he was certainly their best scorer, and he was finishing well at the rim. His shot making was phenomenal. He was assertive. He was really, really big in that first quarter. I thought that he gave them just what they needed, and it's just in such dramatic contrast to what OKC gets out of J-Dub, who was a complete disaster. But to have the better offensive number 2 is a big advantage. And then it was the collective supporting cast for Denver too. Christian Braun, as you mentioned, this is a guy who was shooting 8 of 31 from 3 in this series coming into this game. He was under 26%. The Thunder were more than happy to let him shoot 6, 8 open threes in a game because they knew that he was going to make a low percentage of them. He makes a high percentage of them in this one, and then he's also impacting the game as a cutter. He's active on the glass. He makes some nice reads. He forces some steals. He was just all over the floor in this game. So it's a really, really good win for Denver, absolutely. And Jokic was excellent. This wasn't last game where you're just oh my God, this dude is playing one of the best basketball games I've ever seen from a person. But he was really in control. And I think that's the key word. Through the first 4 games of this series, really in games 2 through 4, we saw him flustered more by this defense. We saw him more frustrated with the physicality. We saw him turning the ball over more. This one, it was just I'm going to take what you give me. You're doubling from the baseline. Perfect. I'm going to find a cutter, and I'm going to create for my teammates consistently. I have a mismatch briefly. I'm allowed to work in single coverage for one possession. Great. I'm going to get to my touch shots, and those have been automatic for him as of late. You give me a little airspace to pull from 3. Great. I'll do it. I have an opportunity to get to the line. Great. I'll do that. But super efficient, takes care of the basketball, 29, 14, and 8, and he had some really good defensive moments. Really good performance from him. On the OKC side, Logan, where did things go wrong for them to not close this game out?
I thought the shooting was a huge problem in this game, especially in the second half. And like you mentioned, just J-Dub. At a point in this game, they missed 13 straight field goals. J-Dub really couldn't get anything going tonight. He goes 3 of 16 from the field, 0 of 4 from deep. And it's disappointing because I thought Shai played a really, really phenomenal basketball game. I thought he was great in this one. I think that I thought that he's just gotten better throughout this series. And I think we're in for a war in Game 7. And it could just come down to who's supporting cast plays better. Carson, the margins between both of these teams are so close, man. I come away, it's anytime a team gets a 10-point lead, anytime nothing feels safe. It doesn't feel like it's going to get extended. It always feels like we're going to rubber band back into place, man. I don't really feel like either. I'm not. I know we're going to talk about the prediction in a minute. I'm just not 100% convinced either way. I think these teams are so evenly matched, truly. But I thought shooting was a big issue for Oklahoma City tonight, and I think that led to some other issues for them. Specifically, I thought Denver did a really good job of getting out on the break and turning a lot of those missed opportunities into points on the other end. This was the best transition offense in basketball in the regular season in terms of points per game, and they got a lot of easy looks early in this game. And I do want to give a ton of credit to Jamal, too, man, for finishing through traffic, for this team just flying out and getting out on the breaks, getting those really easy opportunities. And Last thing I wanted to mention on Denver, dude, you talked about the non-Jokic minutes. Carson, the fact they were able to buy him even more time to sit on the bench early in the fourth quarter, that's just such a huge X factor for them, man. Jokic is never fresh late in these basketball games, and it's just huge that you can afford him any extra time to get some. But it really, to me, comes down to the supporting cast, and I think I think OKC's defense has to be a little more disciplined. I was a little bit disappointed with them, just in terms of rotation. I didn't think they were as crisp. They go on that surge at the end, which was impressive, but I thought that was more sloppy Denver play than Oklahoma City really truly being disruptive. But to me, it comes down to the supporting cast pulling their weight on offense, man. SGA did his thing like you expect him to, and they're just clanging all kinds of threes. It's like SGA, I feel really similar in this game to how I felt about SGA throughout the Dallas series, that he was making good decisions. He was setting his teammates up for good looks, and they just didn't capitalize on them. And sometimes games are really going to be determined by something as simple as that. So I don't know, man. It's so weird. I don't know whose supporting cast I trust more, man. Both of these teams feel so inconsistent. Like, I feel like I trust Gordon and I trust Murray, but can I trust J-Dub? Can I trust Chet? I don't know, man. I'm so up in the air about what we're going to get in this Game 7, but I thought Oklahoma City's supporting cast really let them down in this one.
Yeah, it's just an absolute disaster from J-Dub in every possible way offensively.
That missed dunk, too, dude. Like, I felt like that really encapsulated the whole night for him, man. Like a wide-open, fast-break jam late in this game. He can't even convert that.
Missed that one, got blocked by Peyton Watson on what was maybe the biggest swing play of the game, and that's where we can talk about Strother, and he was certainly the better contributor overall. But that one play from Peyton Watson, that would have cut it to a 5-point Denver lead, and instead that turns into a transition layup for Denver, and then Russell Westbrook is able to put it back in, so now the lead goes back up to 9. That was huge, and then Caruso smoked a layup on the other end. That was a costly little stretch for OKC right there, but it was terrible what J-Dub gave you tonight. And by the way, he's shooting 10 of 43 over the last 3 games. It's just completely inexcusable stuff from him, and this can be the concern. He is not somebody who creates a lot of easy offense for himself. He is not a high-end advantage creator, and so he can live on sort of a tough intermediate shot-making diet at times. He can be maybe overly aggressive and just forcing the issue downhill, and then he's not super great playing through contact, and so you just end up with a lot of shots that are like kind of in and around the paint from him, but you don't like most of them. And then also he just couldn't hit a 3, and he's shooting 25% from deep in these playoffs. That's the one thing that has consistently been off for him, because he was phenomenal against Memphis, but even in that series, he wasn't hitting the 3 and really hasn't been throughout the playoffs. So outside of his masterclass in Game 3, which was so impressive, like OKC won the last couple games kind of in spite of J-Dub. And this game, they were not able to win largely because he was so bad. So he is probably the single biggest guy who you look at for Game 7 and you say, you just have to be way better. But also, the 3-point shooting collectively from OKC was really bad. Lou Dort was way off in this game. I thought that Chet was great inside the arc. I thought that he had some great drives. I thought that he was good finishing off of cuts in the dunker spot, good on the glass, but still didn't look comfortable shooting from deep. Aaron Wiggins isn't able to hit a 3 in this game, so they end up going 11 of 40 from beyond the arc. That really cost them in this game because, like you said, man, I thought that Shai was just fantastic. I thought that Shai was at least the co-best player on the floor with Jokic. I mean, he got whatever he wanted in this game, and he too has adjusted, and he has found his opportunities to be extremely aggressive. Whenever he sees single coverage, whenever he can clear aside, he is getting a bucket. He is going right at you, and he is creating separation and going to knock down one of his short-range jumpers, which have just been automatic now. But his finishing at the rim was also phenomenal. He's just gotten so good at quickly attacking this defense in semi-transition or early in the possession before they can build the wall and really set up the zone. And he's just gotten better at finding the driving angles and still carving up this defense, getting all the way downhill. And he's making good reads, and he's finding dudes in the dunker spot, and he's finding shooters. Like, he was setting up everybody on top of creating crazy efficient offense for himself, and guys just couldn't hit an outside shot in this game.
Yeah, and I do want to give some of the Thunder credit too for some of the back cuts in this game. Dude, Hartenstein had a lot where he just got behind the defense. Um, and I do want to give SGA and J-Dub credit for playmaking in this game. I thought this was a really bad J-Dub shooting night, but he did playmake well. That was the one aspect of the Oklahoma City defense, offense I was impressed with, was their ability to get downhill, get into the teeth of the defense, beat that initial defender, and then force that Denver defense to pick and choose their battles, because they got a lot of easy offense along the baseline and near the rim just off of initial dribble penetration. That is something I thought OKC did a really good job of.
Absolutely. And SGA has just been lights out as a scorer for these last 5 quarters. Obviously, what he did in the fourth quarter was special of last game. And then just throughout this one, I thought that he was absolutely on one. And he does look extremely comfortable against a defense that was making him extremely uncomfortable at some points early in this series. A big problem for OKC in this game, there were really 2 stretches that decided things. You mentioned the Strother one-man run. That was the obvious one. The other one was when Shai picks up his 4th foul at the very end of the first half. OKC was clicking on all cylinders. They had built a 12-point lead, and it felt like they were maybe on the verge of pulling away. And then Christian Braun hits 1-3. Shai gets stripped by Jokic, goes for the ball. Now, Logan, we were texting about this. Looked like he got all ball. But nevertheless, I just don't think he should try to make that play in that moment, because it's going to look like a frustration foul, and you're playing with 3 fouls. Don't give the official an opportunity to make a call. Don't give Jokic an opportunity to flail. He has to come out of the game. Then Denver goes on a 9-0 run. And they're able to erase that advantage entirely with Shai off the floor.
I did think he got all ball, man.
It definitely looked like he got all ball with the hand he was targeting the ball with. Maybe there was something with the offhand that I didn't see initially, but he definitely got all ball with his main hand. But that was a really big stretch for Denver as well. And Christian Braun, again, makes a couple of big shots in that stretch. So those were 2 really pivotal runs for them. And I will say, really, the only note I think you can have for SGA is you have to play more than 35 minutes in a game 7, because as good as OKC's depth is, like, you're the dude who was doing your superhuman stuff, and you're the one guy who I really trust to consistently get to great shots. I certainly don't trust J-Dub to do that right now. You have questions about some of the supporting shooting. There's always just some game-to-game variance with that. Like, they shot the ball better last game. But SGA has to be able to captain this offense for 40-plus minutes in a game 7. I also thought it was weird that Chet only played 30 minutes in this game, because I did think that he was clearly their second best player. I also thought it was kind of weird that Hartenstein only played 25. I thought that he gave you some solid minutes, at least on the glass. And you mentioned the cutting and finishing was good from him. They're trying to find some Jay Will minutes, of course. He's been good in this series. He was solid again today, maybe not as good. But as we look forward to a game 7, Logan, what are the key factors that stand out to you?
You want to start with Denver or OKC?
You start wherever you feel, buddy, and I'll follow you.
I'll start with Denver. I think that you need another Jamal Murray game like this. I don't necessarily think you need a Jamal Murray masterclass, but I think you need him to pull his weight enough. Specifically, I think you need him to step up in the fourth quarter, and Jamal's like on a handful of players like that I would take in like a clutch or big spot. I really do. Like, I think sometimes that clutch gene can kind of get overstated, but he really is one of those special guys I want in big moments.
I got to give this Jamal stat because I forgot to earlier. He's plus 28 in this game, man. Wow. Jokic is only plus 11. They only win the game by 12 points. So Jamal's ability to captain the offense in those non-Jokic minutes and carry them in some of those stretches was absolutely crucial.
Yeah, so I think that's huge. I think you've got to shoot something similar to this. Like, you know, if it is just a couple of threes from an MPJ or a Brown, you need to at least match or get close to OKC, because that's a key advantage that I think OKC has over this Denver team is their collective shooting. And I know it didn't prevail tonight, but traditionally over a series, in most games, that's going to be advantage OKC. So you can't get beat too bad from behind the arc. And then I think you need a big game from one of your role players necessarily. It doesn't have to be anybody specifically, but somebody outside of Murray and Jokic gets going. And finally, I just think you have to avoid a disastrous Russell Westbrook game. I hate picking on the guy. I think Russ has been overall really good in these playoffs and has been a positive. I think he's been a positive this season in general. This was an ugly game from him. I couldn't believe that Adelman didn't pull him just in the first quarter when he was like 2 minutes in. I mean, it was ugly. He is just turning the ball over, not taking care of it. He's taking bad, dumb shots. Like, I don't know, man. I like Russ's energy. I like what he gives you on some nights. I might give him a shorter leash in Game 7 and just be like, I don't know, man. He'd be real quick to get pulled if he's messing up, man. I'd give him a real short leash. And then, hell, man, let's give Strother some burn, dude. Let's see if maybe we can get him going a little bit earlier in the second quarter or something like that. Like, if he can give you this kind of a punch off the bench, ice cold, hasn't played at all, maybe give him a little burn early in the game and see if he can get some easy opportunities. But I still do feel like OKC is the team that should dictate, and I feel like they're the better team. And so I still feel like more things have to go right for Denver than for OKC. I still do feel like they have more margin.
I would agree with that. I think that the aspect that I am most excited for is the superstar battle, because both of those guys are so in rhythm. They've both been so good over these last 2 games. And like I said, I think they know what they're seeing now. They know how to attack it. I trust them both to play at an extremely high level in Game 7 because they've both done it in back-to-back games now. If there's one guy who I am going to say is more capable or more likely to rise to just like an I'm single-handedly going to win us to win kind of level, it would be Jokic. But overall, I think we're going to get great stuff from both of the superstars. So honestly, and this is kind of true for any individual basketball game these days, so maybe it's kind of boring to say, but the 3-point shooting you get from the supporting cast might be the biggest key for both sides, because it's been a roller coaster ride for both teams in that way. And it's very different because OKC is a really good 3-point shooting team. Denver is an efficient 3-point shooting team, but there are a lot of guys who get into the rotation who the defense is going to be totally willing to concede open threes to. If that's Christian Brown, if that's Russell Westbrook, if that's Peyton Watson. And so those guys were really, really struggling to make outside shots in this series coming into today. But in this one, Christian Brown at least shoots significantly better, and they get obviously the 3-3-pointers out of Julian Strawther. So that's going to be huge for Denver. Can those more questionable shooters knock down shots, or maybe do they get a little bit of juice from Strawther? For what it's worth, I'm not counting on Julian Strawther to be able to give you 20 minutes in a Game 7. I definitely think there's a real chance that this is not replicated. There were a couple shots that he took, a couple runners that I didn't like. Like, he made some big ass shots, but I don't think you can just be like, oh, great, Julian Strawther is going to give us 20 awesome minutes again in Game 7.
Well, I mean, I kind of would play him like Russ, where like early in the game, I'm giving him some burn, and if he's giving me good minutes, I'm sure he can get some more, and if he's not, I'll pull him early. I will say, I think one of those runners was pretty late in the shot clock, so I gave him a little bit of slack with that. But you get that shot going, you start feeling yourself. It's like, all right, man, I gotta see if I can hit everything.
Sure, but also you got to know your place as Julian Strawther. I don't disagree that they should at least give him a few minutes and see how he's playing, but I wouldn't necessarily count on him. And also, obviously, MPJ is a big X factor on the shooting front. He was able to make a couple shots in this game. I thought that he was a little more active defensively. They still only played him 29 minutes, but obviously he has really struggled for the most part in this series. So how much are you able to play him is a factor. And then do you have that reliable fifth guy to close with? Because that's a big question for this Denver team. With how Russ is shooting in this series, he is not that guy that he was against the Clippers, where he was awesome and you felt like you could rely on him in those big swats. Peyton Watson, the shot is such a big concern. Strawther, again, I'm just not ready to trust in that kind of moment. So it's going to be pretty huge that either MPJ or Russ are making their shots from the 3-point line for Denver. And then for OKC, it's just more of like a collective thing, because most of the shots that they're getting I like, but J-Dub has to be able to shoot better than he has been. Chet in this series, it's been a struggle from beyond the arc. Lou Dort, obviously, it's consistently been a struggle. And there are a couple guys who have been shooting it better, like Cason Wallace, who I thought was also really good in this game, by the way. He's a guy who deserves a shout out because I thought that he was great turning defense into offense. He knocks down a couple corner threes. He gets a couple transition layups.
He finished some of those transition layups so quick, I thought he missed them.
He's just crazy. He's just a dog. I know how much you love him. I love him a lot too, but he gave you big minutes in this one. Wiggins, again, wasn't shooting, but he's been a guy they've been able to turn to for offense. But I'm going to say it again. I just think we need more Caruso and a little bit less Lou Dort. I thought
I would just play the best
Dort really
shooters,
stepped
man.
up in
When you're really
game 5.
struggling like this, I would be. Again, man, OKC has such a surplus of guys that can play defense and can do the complementary things. There comes a point where I feel like in a game, I'm just going to see who can make shots, and I'm going to ride with that lineup. Like, I understand the value that Dort brings and stuff like that, but like, if he's not going to hit shots, I don't want to play him. You need to maximize, in my opinion, the shooting that you've got around them, and that to me is the most important for OKC. Because I trust
and
this team.
Caruso's just a lot better at everything else, as we talked about, especially offensively.
I get, the little connective stuff, the positioning, the feel, the cutting. I think Caruso clears in all those areas. And I don't think he's that far off as a defender, man. Like, in terms of versatility.
He's a better defender.
Yeah,
he's a better defender.
In terms of versatility, I prefer Caruso way more in terms of, like, switching on to bigger guys and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'd give Caruso more burn, man.
Caruso is clearly the better all-around defender when you consider that he's at least like 95% of the on-ball irritant and elite man defender that Lou is, while he is a way better off-ball defender because he's like one-of-a-kind disruptive at his position in terms of that off-ball defense. I think he should play at least 30 minutes. It's everything that you said, but the cutting, the playmaking, the finishing, the more versatile defensive impact, the shooting, he's doing all that stuff better than Lou, who gave them a massive, massive surge in game 5, but has just been way less reliable. So as good as the Thunder bench is, I don't think there's anything wrong with riding your best guys a little bit more. And if anything, listen, if J-Dub's off, like maybe he doesn't need to play 38 minutes. You obviously need him in the non-Shai minutes, but he has not been a very good complement to Shai necessarily, because guys have to be able to knock down shots off the catch to be effective. And he's had a couple nice drives into gaps and he's made some nice reads, but the shot is a massive, massive problem for him right now. So that three-point shooting is a big key. Ultimately, I do trust the Thunder shooting more. I think that a lot of those Denver guys I feel really shaky about, and some of the Thunder guys are a little bit cold right now, but they are proven to be better shooters overall. I also think what you get out of your second options is a massive key. I would be surprised if J-Dub outplayed Jamal Murray offensively, just with how he's looked. Also, I just think Jamal Murray is a better offensive player than Jalen Williams. What makes J-Dub so effective, what makes him like an all-star caliber guy, is that he is among the 10, 12 best defensive players on the planet. And even there, like tonight, he has a really pronounced impact. But Jamal just has an ability to get to his spots. He's such a special shot maker. That's more reliable. It's more like, can OKC, from their perspective, keep Jamal from having one of his big games, and can J-Dub not shit himself? Can J-Dub, instead of going 3 of 16, give me 6 for 16, give me 18 to 20 points, like competently guide the ship when Shai is off the floor and knock down some shots off the catch alongside him? I think that if OKC can have those number twos place close to a draw, then you would think that their collective depth and shooting should be the advantage, and obviously just their defense being as special as it is. It's extra key for Denver, though, because even though I give them props for how they've done in the non-Jokic minutes, there's still a part of me that is like, if Jamal isn't great, well, that could be a stretch where Jokic sits 4 or 5 minutes, OKC could build an 8-10 point lead like that. It hasn't happened much in this series, but they are capable of it. So that's where I think Jamal is a really, really key performer. One other key that I thought Denver was able to execute well for most of this game, that was able to help them keep their lead, was limiting the turnovers. Now, at the end, that all fell apart because Caruso was just doing his crazy stuff. And like you said, Denver got a little bit careless with the ball. And OKC ends up having a good number of transition points in this game, significantly more than Denver. 33 to 17 ends up being the transition point differential. But a lot of that came in that final stretch and in the first quarter. I thought in the second and third quarters and a good portion of the fourth, Denver did a good job protecting the basketball, and their transition defense was pretty good. That's massive because that's where OKC does have the ability, again, to separate from you if they're turning defense into offense consistently, getting those easy transition chances. That's where J-Dub is going to be at his best. That's where he's going to be most comfortable attacking in the full court, even though he couldn't even do that right tonight. So Denver has to limit that in my opinion. And then I think the battle on the boards, it's always been big in this series. I think that if OKC can basically keep that to a draw, that's a solid outcome for them. Although we saw them have the advantage on the glass in a couple games because they're just so active. But I do think that Denver as the bigger, stronger team in the front court and with the Jokic factor with Aaron Gordon, like they should be expected to generate more second chances in an average game. All those factors and all those keys considered and weighted out, Logan, who do you like in game 7?
Man.
He didn't think I was going to ask.
No, I've been sitting over here thinking I could flip a coin, man. I could see this game really going either way. The reason I want to take the Nuggets is because a very large portion of my still thinks that I trust them more in the clutch, and I think this game is going to be very, very close going in to the final stretch of Game 7. And even though they're on the road in Oklahoma City, I just trust Denver to operate better down the stretch.
Okay.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Denver. I thought coming into this show I was going to take Oklahoma City in 7. I think Jokic is the best player in the world, and I'm going to bet on him to win this game.
Wow. It always does scare me betting against Jokic in a do or die spot. And I don't think that this is like an obvious no-brainer, but I do think that OKC is the better team, so I would pick them to win Game 7 on their home floor. The biggest reason for that is probably how impressed I've been by Shai in these last couple games, because I think that when he plays up to his standards, or even exceeds them potentially, that's when OKC should win these games, unless they have the sort of exceptional failure from the supporting cast like they did tonight. But on average, their supporting cast is better in terms of their two-way ability. And I do trust guys to knock down more shots than they did tonight. I also think it's really, really big that it felt like they figured out the zone tonight. Like SGA was making the right reads. You mentioned the cutting. That was a big part of it. They were finding the soft spots in the zone. They generated 1.1 points per possession against the zone on 23 possessions. That's a better number than they've churned out in any of the previous games. And they did that without shooting well, which is like the thing that you think is going to beat the zone on average. So I think they have more potential to win the turnover margin consistently. I do think that they'll be able to actually play Denver decently, even on the glass, just with how hard they play. I like more Caruso minutes as opposed to Lou Dort. I expect that adjustment, and I think that it's a swing factor. And like I said, I just expect some of the guys around Shai to be better. I think both superstars are going to be great. Maybe Jokic can just be so unbelievable, but I have more concerns about some of the guys around him. I'm not confident that Christian Brown replicates this. I don't know what the hell I'm getting out of MPJ. I don't know what the hell I'm getting out of Russell Westbrook. I don't know what I'm getting out of a lot of guys for Denver. And even though there's been inconsistency with OKC, they have more options to turn to, and they have more talent overall. So I'm going to take OKC. We do have some super chats to get to before we get out of here. Indie Merchant Sam, thank you again for your donation. I'm pouring honey on Strother. You have to.
Got to.
It's a career-defining kind of performance, man. Just crazy.
Dude, I'm empty. I need to go to the store and get some more. I already emptied all mine out.
Yeah, well, that could be taken out of context, but I'm going to interpret that generously. Say that you're talking about pouring honey on Julian Strother.
That's what I was talking about.
And that you mean it quite literally. Shout out Adelman, man. I mean, like, seriously.
Yeah, no.
He tested the waters with him in Game 5. He played 10 minutes, but to give him an extended stint in this one and to have it be like maybe the swing factor, that's just huge. Calvin Booth redemption? Calvin Booth was the good guy all along. Calvin Booth was a genius. He knew what he was doing. Find out after this.
Low key, that's one of the craziest storylines of these playoffs.
Well, it's a crazy storyline for one single game. I mean, let's not
look.
Change
All I'm saying, bro, is if they get to the Western Conference Finals after firing their coach, and like that's just ridiculous.
Oh, that is insane. Absolutely. I'm just saying Calvin Booth absolutely deserved to be fired. And Adelman has done a really good job. And the whole team has just rallied in such an impressive way, man. To be going into a Game 7 against the 68-win Thunder, that's wild considering where Denver was with 3 games to go in the regular season. Rye Dog says, so tired of Dub doing this. Conversations to be had?
Yeah. I mean, he's young, but yeah, there's some conversations that we can definitely have about J-Dub, man. I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed what we got out of him in this series. Like you said, dude, Memphis, I
He
thought
was
this was going to
great.
be a big time breakthrough for J-Dub this series, man. And I didn't think that Denver could really do much to disrupt him, but I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, it's been rough from him, man. He's shooting 27% from mid-range in this series. He's shooting 41% in the restricted area. And then he's shooting 4 of 25 on above the break threes. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me?
I mean, like, if you just gave me those numbers, I would probably rather play somebody off the bench.
Like, that is horrifying, man.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle for him. Like, he does not get easy offense. He does not get easy offense in the half court, and that has to improve. I think that there's so much to like with Jada, but obviously, if there's anybody who's getting blamed on the OKC side for this series being where it is, Lou Dort, obviously, you would have liked to see shoot the ball better, but Jada being this bad over these last few games is extremely disappointing, especially coming off of the series that he played against Memphis. Miguel says Nuggets in 7. Logan's with you.
I am. I'm moved, man. This is going to be a war. I agree. It's a coin flip. Coin flip is the exact way I feel. Like I don't know who's supporting cast I should trust more. There's so many complicating factors that, like that make ripple effects with like other keys to this game. It's such a fascinating thought exercise. I'm very close to 50-50, but yeah, I'm going to bet on Jokic, man.
I understand it. I understand betting on Jokic. I do still think that the collective OKC team has more margin. Also, if there is a world in which one team wins this game comfortably, I do think it's OKC because of their defensive ceiling, just the utter chaos that they can cause. And then because I do also think they have the higher 3-point shooting ceiling, like that gives them more of a potential to maybe run away with the game a bit. I wouldn't expect that, but you never know in a game 7. I mean, think about how tight almost every game in Nuggets Clippers was, and then it ends up being a blowout in game 7. I do think that OKC has more potential to pull that out, and they showed me enough with how they gutted out games 4 and 5 for me to have more confidence in them in the clutch situations. And Shai has definitely shown me enough to be confident in him right now. We have a couple more super chats before we go. Eli says, what team is Jalen Williams on next season?
Right now he's playing for the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, damn near. When he's on offense, he's playing for the Denver Nuggets. I think they're going to stick it out with J-Dub. Call me a crazy man. I think he plays better in game 7. Well, hold on. That's actually not crazy. He can't play worse. I'll say I think he plays significantly better. Not to say that we're going to get what he gave you in game 3. I think that we'll get a solid J-Dub game. I think he just needs to settle down a bit, obviously. And also he just has to find his jumper. Like some of the looks that he's taking, I do not like. Some of the looks I'm fine with, and they're just not falling right now. But I believe in the OKC core. I do think that he's certainly more expendable than like a Chet if they ever were to move off of somebody other than Shai. But I still believe in J-Dub as part of this core. Light Skits, thank you for your donation. Strother, Dark Horse Finals MVP. Let's talk about it.
It's happening. Take it to the bank.
Let's start the narrative. Get the odds on that. I mean, that's just an incredible value bet. He's MVP of today, man. He's MVP of today.
Sure. I completely agree with that.
Overperformed his expectations by the most and was maybe the swing factor in this one. I'm so excited for Sunday. I wish that we didn't have to wait. I wish that they could just turn around and give us game 7 right now. But we are going to be back before then, Logan, because believe it or not, we got another game 6. We got another potential opportunity to extend a series to game 7. That's going to be the Boston Celtics fighting for their lives against the New York Knicks. And Logan, that's going to be tomorrow. And we're going to be here.
Oh, yeah. You better believe it.
Oh, yeah. We are both chained to our radiators. Sometimes I wish I could get outside, but basketball's pretty great too. So I can't be that mad about it.
I don't really mind it, honestly. It's kind of soothing.
Well, you start to forget what's in the outside world.
What do you got tomorrow, man? I think I'm going to take Boston to force game 7.
I kind of think I'm with you. You
know what? And it's kind of ironic to me the way the Celtics have done this little face turn after Tatum's injury. You know what I mean? Like now that they're the underdog, and like I'm seeing some people get behind Boston. But like you said, dude, can I ask you something? Even though the Knicks are up in this series, like, who do you think has won more? The Celtics have won more quarters, yeah? Like, and I get the
yeah.
I mean, it's
way
like,
more.
That's what's kind of crazy to me about this series. And I get that Tatum was healthy for a lot of them, but it's like, I just don't think New York has looked all that great.
I
Like
agree. You're
New
preaching to the
York's
choir.
New York's done enough in every game, but they just haven't looked like dominant in any of these wins. And so I think Boston's going to force Game 7, man. I think we got 2 of them on the rise. I'm super pumped for tomorrow's show too. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We will be back if you're interested for more.
Celtics are plus 35 in this series, man. That's crazy to have a plus 7-point differential per game in a series that you're down 3-2. Truly, if they do not have generational meltdowns in games 1 and 2, they could have gotten this thing over and done with already. That being said, it is a different game without Jason Tatum. Of course, can they replicate what they did last game? A lot of it falls on Jaylen Brown. He has to be as good as he was, but I think that there's a real possibility. I think that they are very similar caliber teams when Jason Tatum is off the floor. And in Game 5, Boston was convincingly better and offense was coming a lot easier to them. So we'll see. I'd say that game is pretty much a toss-up. With that, as always, appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed. You know where to find us if you want more. Our YouTube channel. We do all of our post-game live streams here. You can watch them in the moment. You can watch them after the fact. And you can listen to all of our full episodes across all audio platforms. You can also follow us across social, TikTok, Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh. And you can join our Discord if you want to be part of our community there. Chat with the gang. That is linked at the link tree that is across our social media bios. So with that, as always, I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.